So good.
Hello, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Wake Up with Giants radio show. I am Lady Luck, and I am joined in studio by Nick, the Gentle Giant, Ryan the Lion, and Lute Bryon Smith. And today is a special, special day, and it's funny. I'm going to introduce our topic, and it's not in front of me. Today, we're going to be talking about the creative power of our words, feelings, and thoughts. And I'm going to take it right over. I'm going to go right to Lute and have him say hi and introduce himself to our audience.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Luke Bryon Smith, and yeah, thank you for having me on here today. I've connected with these guys another on a couple of other occasions, and man, it's always a pleasure. But yeah, my name's Luke Bryon Smith, and I just love encouraging people and being around people that encourage me, and I create what I like to call positive affirmation, self empowerment music, and just love inspiring people,
It's
love
got
growing
some
and working on
killer
myself.
music too. You need to
Really
if you're
good.
at
Yeah,
home and you're listening to this after, don't do it now because we don't want you to leave now.
yeah,
But go look up Luke Bryan Smith and some pretty amazing positive affirmation music. It's incredible what you come up with, man. What you create. It's inspiring, and
thank you.
we love it. So we're glad you're a giant and with us tonight.
I
Yeah,
love that we have the theme of music right now going on. We
yeah,
had
yeah.
music going on last week, and it's funny. I haven't heard any of Lute's music or any of his work yet, but I can picture when Ryan says affirmations, I can hear his voice in my head, like while I'm meditating or something. I could just hear his voice
Right,
going
right,
and
It's good
saying the
stuff.
affirmations. Yes, he
Might,
has the
might
voice
be
for
good
it.
for the
right,
yoga
right.
too, right?
Yes, I use
Yeah.
that word meditating and meditation in a few of my songs too. So yeah,
Isn't there hip hop yoga? There should be. If there's not, right?
yeah. You're
Yeah,
the creator of it
Yeah.
right now.
R and
You
B.
created that genre right now.
Yeah. Hey,
There
Groundbreaking
what's your
stuff.
website, real quick, too? How do we lead people over to you so I can run that on the bottom of the show? Do you have a link or something I can share?
Yeah. Oh yeah. You can put add loot bryonsmith.com.
Perfect.
You know.
awesome. Awesome.
Well, good.
There actually is, Nick, a song called The Yoga Slide
Is
that the
there?
teens that the teens do. I'm
Huh.
gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send
Well,
it to you.
Yoga
You'll like it.
slide.
The yoga slide. Google the yoga slide. You'll like it.
I'm
Okay.
It's a
gonna
good one.
I'm gonna watch it. So, man, you're a man of creativity. So you're using words, feelings, thoughts
Hmm.
to really inspire people. And man, I listened to your music. That's how we met, was through your music. I think
Right. Right.
going back to it, and then we had you on the show, and the words that you use. How come you went that way? Because you grew up in a neighborhood that was pretty rough. Like you grew up with a lifestyle
Right.
that was pretty rough, and you went another
Right.
way
Right.
with it. Why did you choose to do that with words?
I think just I started listening to my intuition. I think we all have that inner voice, and then we block it out at times. But something it just wasn't setting right with me. Because prior to this style, this the way I create music now, I created, like you said, a more extreme, rougher version of music, which is more
Right.
mainstream, and I would say more of focused on a negative aspect of life and destructive um, aspect of life, and just something I could say the universe or something, God, spoke to me and just said, look, you need to be responsible for um, what you're putting out there, and a lot of what you're putting out there, what you're vibrating out there, has a lot to do with negative circumstances that you're attracting in your life,
Hmm.
and as well as influencing other people in the wrong direction. So I just basically had a wake up call and a just start self transformation and just start researching um, meditations and things of that nature, and guided meditations, and I wanted to do something like that, but I just did it in my own style, you know, um, which is through music, through hip hop lyrics, and here I am. I'm
Yeah.
creating these more uplifting and positive lyrics, and I haven't turned back since.
Yeah. Why do you think words are so powerful? Like what is it about words that influences?
You know, I just I've been fortunate to just hear a lot of things, just uh like throughout my journey, like spells and things like that. People say, in all aspects that words are powerful. When you watch movies, read books, these words influences. If you read religious books, they all talk about the power of the spoken word and everything. And it's true. I from my experience, just um, the words I speak, they have a lot to do with what manifests in my experience. The words that I continuously use. And I've learned that, and especially what I've come to realize is music is really powerful because it has the words with it, but just the feeling and the music, everything in the frequencies and everything. I don't know what it all is, but when you listen to a certain song, it makes you feel a certain way, and it's powerful. It taps into your emotions, and it gets in your head, and you're saying it over and over. And I think there's a real, I don't understand it fully, but there's a real power in that.
There's a resonance in it. I watched, I nerd out. There was a little documentary that I watched, and they record the sounds of snowflakes, so like crystals forming and the sounds that they make, right? And there's music at that level and different vibrations that occur. And it's amazing how a single word can impact somebody and bring up emotion in them in such a way that their life is impacted forever. It changes forever. A single word in either direction. Words can be destructive. Like you said, at one point you were doing it destructively. And I think that's kind of how the universe works anyways, creating and destroying. But then you took that and you moved it in another direction. Right. And like you say, I saw Ryan's face light up around manifesting what you speak, right? You started creating your life totally differently from that point on.
Right. Huh. Right. And you know what? You just reminded me of something. I can't remember exactly where I saw it, but it was something that someone took. There was a study done where they took some
water.
Plants. No, plants.
Oh, okay.
And they took one plant here and one over here. And to this plant over here, they were saying bad things to the plant. Like you won't, you're scrawny, you're this. And they were saying positive words to the other plant. And that plant grew up big and strong and the other one didn't. So there's something in for even plants to know that. And yeah.
I've seen that study, and I think that the important word that you keep using and that Nick's been using too is creativity and creating. And we're talking about the creative power of those words and those thoughts and those feelings, and that's how we manifest, and unconsciously in our subconscious we're manifesting in that way from our feelings, from our thoughts, from our words, and the importance of keeping those words positive because we're manifesting those things whether they're positive or negative. Our subconscious doesn't look at that and decipher whether or not it's positive or negative. It just manifests it as it comes to it. So it's important that in order for us to create in a positive way, we keep those words, thoughts, and feelings positive. So I love that you're bringing that positivity through your music and through your work.
Right. There you can talk about countless studies, even when you're nurturing and cultivating children. If you speak positively to them, a lot, they're going to turn out a lot different than a child that you criticize and talk down to. They're going to turn out totally different people. And there's something, like you said, it's power in those words. Those words are very powerful.
I want to go backward, because you look at thoughts, feelings, and then words, right? And I think the order of it, is that what we had in there? Words, feelings, and thoughts, right?
Yeah, we did, yeah.
Like if we were to rearrange this, that the thoughts triggered the feelings that triggered the words, because thoughts always are predecessors to the feeling. And then the feeling is a predecessor to the word. And then the word is a predecessor to the action. And so the creative process always starts with the thoughts. And so at some point you had a shift in thinking that shifted your emotions, those feelings, and shifted truly like your whole world. Your way of creating shifted and it pivoted in a new direction. Is that accurate?
Right. Yeah, just like I said, I can't really explain it. I mean, put my finger right on it, but it's just as I was creating, it got to a point when I was creating, as I was creating that certain music and that certain frequency and saying certain words, it's almost like I had an out of body experience. I was like looking at myself and then saying, man, what are you saying? And how is this really making you feel? And it just, something shifted somewhere. I can't.
You don't
really
remember like a time somebody maybe said something, or was it just
No,
one day you just all of a sudden were different?
Yeah, just I won't say one day, but it kind of progressed because the people that I was creating music with at the time, I started to change the kind of music I was doing slowly. Even they were kind of looking at me
Yeah.
like, well, okay, we'll still support you, okay, but you see what I'm saying? It's almost like I was gradually shifting the type of music, and they couldn't understand it. I couldn't even understand it. Like, why am I led to start making this type of stuff now? It's just kind of weird. Like, and they're like, okay, we respect your creativity, but I could see what it was doing.
It reminds me of the movie like Liar Liar.
Yeah. It was starting to break through, that negativity, and it was reaching towards, a more positive direction. And eventually, that I just went full-fledged, into a positive direction. And so, knowing now what I know from just experience and just reading countless books, by like Napoleon Hill and Neville Goddard and
that's a good one.
Yeah, I love Neville Goddard.
Feeling is the secret is one that just comes up quickly.
Yes. I mean, I listen to him. I actually listen to his voice on YouTube.
Melissa's like,
I'm in the middle of that one right now.
Yeah,
Nick just
I love
finished
listening to Neville Goddard and Joseph Murphy. But just listening to guys like that, it just inspires me and to know and to make me aware more, has made me aware, like
what you put in there, that's eventually going to come out, right? What you're putting in there is going to come out. And so like the music you listen to, the books you're reading, the shows you're watching, the news, the information you're paying attention to, it's going to come out. It's going to shift your thinking eventually. And then that thinking is going to shift your feeling and your actions. And so, I mean, I used to listen to 80 books a year. It was like I was just one book after the other. I had a long enough commute that I could just pound through books. And that evolved into The Giants and the Smalls, right?
Right.
And
I have that book, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good book.
Pretty good dude who wrote that book.
I don't know about the author of that book, though.
Yeah,
I don't know if
he's kind of a weirdo.
He's kind of sketchy, eh?
I'll say weird weirdo.
Sketchy, eh? Yeah, that's what they say up in Canada, Nick.
Yeah, I have that book right in my bookcase. But
that dude is sketchy.
I like what you're saying, though. I really resonate with it. But it's just amazing. Even the way I think now, I didn't always think this way. I wasn't aware of my words and thoughts and to be aware. I wasn't raised that way, to be mindful of the information that you allow to come into your ears and your mind, that really, determines not only who you are, but just circumstances, the way you think, everything. So I'm a lot more mindful now of what I listen to, the conversations I engage in, what the little bit of television that I do watch. I'm really mindful of that now.
As you started,
and I'm not criticizing anybody else for whatever, but I do know that from my experience, you gotta take control of that, of what you're listening to, what you're watching.
Isn't it interesting to go back and see where you've come from, though? Like when you said that, it reminded me. I had this experience. I'm a huge fan of Mr. Rogers. Everybody knows that, and the impact that Mr. Rogers has had on children in particular, and I will often quote Mr. Rogers and be fascinated by the knowledge he had and his presence. And I remember a time back when I was sick and in a low place and in depression and, in a bad place in my marriage. And, Facebook is wonderful about bringing memories up for you.
Right.
And so years later, after my marriage was over and I was healed, it was probably about last year or something like that. A Facebook memory came up, and I was actually bashing Mr. Rogers in this. I had put on Facebook, I can't believe we listened to this crap when we were kids.
Yeah.
It was actually a bash to Mr. Rogers, and I read it and I was just beside myself, because now I would never, like, I feel so opposite about him. And I was in such a low place and in such a bad place. I actually wrote that. I deleted it from Facebook. I was it came up as a memory, and I was just like, oh my gosh, that's where I was.
Yeah, you brought back a lot of memories for me, because in my childhood, that was a significant groundbreaking show that I used to watch. Is it was on this channel 9 where I grew up. I can still remember it. That's the impact it made on me. Is I watched Mr. Rogers, Sesame Street, and Electric Company.
Oh yeah. Mr. Dress Up. Mr. Dress Up was in there too. Yeah.
Yes. And Captain Kangaroo.
Yes. Yeah. Captain Kangaroo. And the Friendly Giant. The Friendly Giant. Do you remember the Friendly Giant?
Friendly Giant, Mr. Green Jeans. Yep.
I don't remember any of
our age now.
Yeah.
I know, right? We just dated ourselves.
Yeah, I remember the Cookie Monster.
That always back in the 70s, watching those. But yeah, I love Mr. Rogers. You know what? I haven't seen the movie with Tom Hanks though yet.
Oh, it was incredible. Oh my gosh, I cried through.
And I love Tom Hanks too. I just haven't got around to watching.
It was so good.
Tom Hanks does is brilliant.
Yeah, it was so good and so much different than what you would expect it to be. I took my kids to see it, and it was just incredible. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I love Tom Hanks, but the original Mr. Rogers. Yeah. I was very sad when he passed. I remember it being in the news, but yeah, I was just like, man, that was a defining moment watching that guy and watching him go to all these places, these businesses, these industries, and he would go and ask a lot of questions on how things worked and how, manufacturers he'd go to. I remember, and then the little trolley.
Yeah, but the biggest thing about Mr. Rogers, and this brings us back to our topic today, is he taught kids about feelings.
Right.
And about the power of their feelings and in what to do with those emotions and how to deal with them, and what that it was okay to have those feelings and those emotions, right? And he talked about them in a positive way, whether it was a negative emotion or not, whether it was anger or anything. He talked about it in a positive way and in a way where kids were open to identify those emotions and talk about it. And I think it's something we're lacking now in this generation, but it goes back to what we're talking about, the creative power of those thoughts, feelings, and words.
Right. Yeah, I just remember him being so just calm and even every time he spoke. And it's just, hi, boys and girls. I just remember. I just remember just being mesmerized, just sitting there.
It's like music still, the way he would speak it is like music.
It was like music. He had a certain cadence that was very soothing,
right?
Very calming.
Almost.
And that's why he was able to keep us locked in front of that TV for an hour.
Yeah,
just watching him do.
You are getting sleepy.
Yeah. He had that kind of and he used to read stories sometimes too, but he had that voice that would be good for putting people to sleep, reading bedtime stories to you.
Yeah.
Ryan, you had a thought there I wanted to capture. Yeah. Remember it. I don't know if you remember where.
I was actually, I wrote it down because I was like, just wanted to make sure I didn't lose it, but I posted it up here as a comment. is that wanted to talk about like the creative process, because you've created all these positive affirmation songs.
Right.
How does one get like how does one all of a sudden decide, look, I'm creating these other songs, then poop, flip the switch, and what's involved in that? And then do you come up with topics? Is it like you just start going with what's on your heart? Talk to us about that, and then how the songs have impacted you, and then maybe any stories of how they've impacted others that you might be able to think about.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have a lot of stories. But the creative process with me, basically, it goes like this. I I don't have anything already. Most of the time, I don't have an idea already. I'll talk to my uh, producer, the one that, or composer, if you will, that creates the instrumentals, and I look at those as like a blank canvas. So he'll send me, email me. This is the new time now. I don't have to go there physically. He'll
Yeah.
email me some files, some samples. I'll tell him, hey, I want to create some new music. Sometimes I will tell him I want to do something low, mellow, or I want to do something powerful or whatever. Sometimes, but most of the time, I just leave it up to, I just say, send me some stuff, and we have a good enough relationship now that he knows about what type of, you know, music that I like. And I'm not really in a box. I like everything, because just like I don't want to be all over the place, but like I listen to all kind of music. Like when I'm reading, I read and I listen to classical music.
Oh, we may have lost him.
Yeah, it's perfect though.
That's where it ends.
That's it.
It's all about classical music. When the
Yeah.
classical music hit, that's the stunner
That's
right
it.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the violins, the pianos, the symphonies, and things like
Yeah.
that. So I'll listen to that. So that tells you that I have a broad, range of.
Can I point something out real quick and keep going? Like we'll keep going.
Go ahead.
But you create off the creations of another. Like that's amazing to me, because often we think, well, I've got to be the originator, right? The
Right.
origin of the creation. And sometimes people create off of what other people create, and that's as impactful, right? Like I just wanted to hit that real quick and point that out, because you
No, it
take
is.
music and you add to it.
It is, because there are a lot of artists out there that just create just from scratch. They'll just come up with a melody in their head and they'll write the words and then they'll put the music to it. Me, more or less, I'll get an instrumental and I'll listen to it, and whatever one that speaks to me, like, if you listen to a certain rhythm, whether, hey, I like that. So I'll pick that out, and then next thing you know, this things will start coming to me. I'll say, send me that whole thing. They'll send it to me, and I'll sit down and just kind of vibe with it and just relax and set the mood. Maybe light a few candles and shut myself in a room alone, and just things will just start
Zen
coming.
out, right?
Yeah.
Meditate.
Yeah, I like that.
Meditate.
Zen out.
Yeah, you're meditating on it.
Yes, and then a certain sometimes a certain topic will come up and hit me, like, okay, we're gonna build around this topic. Or just sometimes just certain words, like, a word will come in my head first, like, I this, or the sun, or whatever, and then I'll just start building on it, and it'll just build. It's hard to explain. It's just
A lot of us creatives, we talk about a download, right? It's almost like it's a download. It's not like we're creating it or putting it together. It flows in and it flows out, right? Like it's like a download. I've heard Richard Paul Evans talks about that. I feel that. That's how I experience it. It just downloads.
right.
Yeah. Is it like that for you, or is it a little different?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've heard it put different ways. They say, the universe or God are speaking through me, or spirit, or whatever. But yeah, download. Just I believe it from my perspective that we're all creators. We just have to tap into that, and in some way, I think everybody, even people that sit there, oh no, I can't create anything. It's because you're telling yourself that, but you can create something. There's something that you got to just open up, but we all have that gift of creating, and it's, I think that we're all here to do that. And so, so it words come, go ahead.
But I was just going to say, we put it in a box. We put parameters around how we think we need to create it,
Right.
rather than just allowing it to happen, right? And because I do the same with Storytime Yoga. I don't create the stories. An author writes the storybooks. I take the storybook and I create the yoga poses and the class and the lesson around that author's creation, right? So I'm still creating, but I'm creating off of somebody else's work.
I have this thought. This is going to be way off course. So you guys help me bring it back. But my daughters will play Roblox, right? And I have this imagining
that game.
Yeah, they have these avatars that they create, and then they get to go in this world that they, kind of like ours. They get to go in this world and create it any way they want, play around. Same with Minecraft, same idea. But behind that avatar is them, right? Is them, and so they're playing this world as an avatar that they've created. They created the avatar and they've created the experience, right? And I kind of I wonder recently more than often, have we done this before, right? Are we just avatars of some creator who's really us, just I'm going to see what I can create here. And I almost picture my teenage son as like, when I get down there, I create my avatar, I'm going to break some shit, like a teenager would, there's probably those people that do that, but I don't know if that brings up anything in you or, if that takes us to a thought,
No, it is true, but like I said, back to, what I said, we all have this in us. I can't quite put my finger on the pulse, but we all have that creative thing in us, and when we create something, it's like it enhances us, who we are. It makes you feel good to be able to. That came from me, that came from my mind. I don't care if it's a drawing, it's a poem, it's a painting, it's a piece of music, it's like a book or whatever, yoga, dance steps, movements, whatever. We all have it in us. The recipes, cooking something, making up something. I mean, you could even, some kids, I've even watched my daughter go in the kitchen and just throw things together. She's creating and she doesn't even know it.
I mean, we're all on computers. We didn't have to create this to be on here. I'm grateful. I don't know anything about creating a computer. I'd be screwed, right?
I love that. I love that you talked about the kitchen. My son is trying to be creative in the kitchen, and he came home from school a couple of days, and I had made him a tuna sandwich for his lunch in the morning. So the leftover tuna was in the fridge. I was looking for this quick snack, and so one day I just threw the tuna on top of a rice cake and was eating it like that. And then the next day I just grabbed some carrots and was like eating the tuna like dip with the carrots. And both days he looked at me and said, "What kind of wizardry are you doing to come up with these genius things?" And I was like, "Dude, I just threw tuna on." But he just thought it was like the best thing in the whole world because he hadn't seen it before. He hadn't experienced it before, right? And he just thought it was heaven.
Even that, you want to just, without even knowing it, you just think of things, and you don't know if it's going to taste right or not. You just, we're creating. We don't even know it, and we're creating.
We're doing it right here.
I'm not creative. No, baloney. I don't believe
that. We're doing it right here in this conversation. We're creating this.
You're creating you're creating dialogues. The way, the rhythm, the flow, the ideas that are happening. It's creating. It's creative. Everything that we do is creative. When you're putting certain attire together, you're creating. You're creating your own unique look. You might oftentimes we're influenced by what we've seen somewhere else, but still you throw your own spin on it.
You're never not
your own little.
You're never not creating though, right? Like it's like you're either conscious of it or you're unconscious, but you're always creating.
Unconscious of it, right?
Yeah, and let's talk for a second about encouraging that in our young ones, in our kids. Because when you talked about clothing, it made me think of my daughter when she was younger. I mean, she used to just put the most wild, incredible things together, and I would just look at her and say, that is just the most creative outfit you've got on there. I just love that. You know what I mean? And I would just let her walk out in public with it like it was mismatched and all over the place. And she'd have her little crown on and like, I don't know, like striped knee highs and a big tutu and all this stuff. And I would just be like, that's just incredible. Like, look at your imagination.
You know what? I got to commend you on that. I just have to, because oftentimes I've heard the opposite, parents sort of like suppressing the creativity within their kids. They'll see, take that off, you look stupid. And what you did, wow, that's amazing. You want to encourage your kids to be creative, even if you think it looks embarrassing or whatever. So what? That's going to cause them to.
My daughter will come up with a shirt that's a little too short sometimes. She's going to go out on a date. And I say, hey, that was real creative. I love that, except for that's not leaving the house. So your creativity.
Right. There you go. There you go. There's a way. Yeah, there's a way to do it.
So she throws it in her purse.
Yeah, you can still. You're still the parent, and you can still draw lines. But you're not. You're not killing her spirit with the way that you.
And and I do that too, Ryan. My daughter's only 10, and she's
just
come
shakes
with
her
a little.
Head. She's like, oh, Dad.
My 10-year-old has come with the crop tops because they're out there right now. And I've just looked at her and said, that's wonderful. I love that you want to wear that. Please put a tank top under it. So you can wear that, but just put a tank top under it so that your belly's not hanging out and we're all good.
Where's the rest of your shirt? Like a dad would say, right?
I like it that you're conscious of how you how you're
I love you so much, but if you go out in public, I'll kill you.
Yeah, there you go. Hey.
Well, there's a place to let them have their creativity even when they want to do, but like wear what they want and do what they want too. I mean, I remember one Easter, she had this big pink poofy Easter dress and we were going to church and it was laid out for her to wear and she was having a meltdown and I said, okay, you can wear whatever sweater or jacket or shoes that you want. And she actually went in big boots, like these big clunky boots with this dress. And I was like, okay, that's the compromise. She put the dress on, but she's in these big clunky boots that she wanted and whatever over top of the dress and it worked. It was okay.
Yeah, she felt her sense of uniqueness, by doing that. And you got and that is important to be able to, be unique. But within boundaries, I mean, especially us as parents, we still have to look out for them because they don't know the effects and consequences of everything. So you still got to reel them in and tell them, hey, this is not appropriate, this is or whatnot. But I do appreciate your creativity, and you can wear that all day long inside the house, but do not open that door and go out.
Right. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm just reading Alice's comment. Oh, okay.
If people can see our social media posts, oh my gosh, they're the best.
Oh my goodness. On that note, I'm going to take us to a commercial break for 2 minutes. We're going to go out now. We will stay on social media, but we'll say goodbye to all of our podcast listeners. We'll see you in 2. All right, Luke, we're still on social media for 2 minutes. We're just going to count it out. That's where a little commercial will be in for the podcast.
Where should we go on the second half here as far as direction goes? Like, I love the thought, feeling, word creation, and maybe some ideas or inspiration for people, like how to tap into their own creativity, like how each of us maybe do that, maybe we can talk about that.
I like that. Strategies about how to get into your energy and into your place. Yeah, I like that.
Right. Yeah, that sounds great.
And then wrap it up and call it good, man. Put a label on it.
I'll tell some more jokes. It'll be amazing.
On it and ship it out.
Yeah. Perfect.
I'm so happy I showed up for today's episode and I didn't go to bed.
Yeah, 4 extroverts all on one call. This is incredible.
4 extroverts. Who says this? Because you've got 3 extroverts and 1 introvert.
Luke's
I don't know
not introverted.
I'm introverted.
Oh.
You are so not introverted, Nick.
Ambiverted. Sometimes I'm perverted.
Perverted. I agree with that one. Perverted. Yes. For sure. Nick
Yeah.
knows how to take it there all the
Extrovert,
time.
introvert, pervert,
Yeah, I got all the words.
Expert.
expert.
I don't always expert. Yeah. Big Bird.
Oh my goodness.
Big Bird.
See, like, who's the introvert? I don't know.
Right?
It's at home. You have to guess.
Okay, so Alex is really gonna understand the introvertedness when he sees me in person in January. Then he's really gonna experience the introvertedness. I'm gonna try real hard.
That's right.
But
Good kick
that
to
was
be
too
on.
much, man. That's
I
funny.
love our
Oh,
listeners and
goodness.
viewers. They're the best.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, my friends. I'm gonna bring us back in.
Here we go.
Welcome back to the Wake Up with Giants radio show. I am Lady Luck, and I'm joined in studio by Nick the Gentle Giant, Ryan the Lion, and Bryon Smith. And today we are talking about the creative power of our words, feelings, and thoughts. And coming back into this half of the episode, we're going to move into the space of creativity, how all of us move into those spaces of creativity and what strategies we use. And I'll go right to you, Lute, to start us off. Talk to us about, how you create that space for yourself when you're coming up with all of your works.
Well, as I was saying before, like, the way I create music, I think it's very important from my perspective. What I've learned is to figure out a way, and it connects with meditation too and yoga. Figure out a way to silence all the noise and the outside things out of your head. Try to do that. That way, those ideas will come to you. Because a lot of times we're always grasping on to certain thoughts, whether they're our own or thinking about what we did earlier last year, this impacted our lives. It's always something that we're gripping onto. We got to learn in order to connect with your creativity, to silence some of that, that, and then really just, relax in some way. And that's why I think, like, meditation and yoga and things like that come into play. But, me, like I said, I'll just, I love music. So that's why I've directed my energy, my creative energy, towards music. So I like to be by myself. Like I said, I'll set the mood. I'll light some incense, so smell, light some candles, visual, dim the lights, and play the music, and then just relax.
Little Barry White, right? Like,
right. And just let the just let the creativity juices marinate and flow.
Yeah.
I just wrote that down on my paper. That's how I flow.
Right.
Flow, slowing down. I wrote that down as well. Slow down, listen, and flow.
Yes. Basically, too, get out of your own way. And what I mean by that, silence those outside chatters. Don't think about what happened at work. Right. Don't think about, and this is not in a bad way. Don't think about during your creative moments. Don't sit there and think about the kids' schoolwork and things like that. Tap in, this is your moment, your creative moment, So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely won't create anything when my kids are here.
Right.
Like, even if they were here, it would be a mental distraction for me, because I would be thinking about the fact that they're here and they're getting into something, or what I definitely don't create when they're here. They're gone. And you guys all know I do my best thinking in the shower. I don't know what it is. I get into the shower and all the ideas just flow. I actually keep my cell phone. I keep my cell phone there so that I can record little messages. I'll peek out of the shower to record a message to myself when everything comes to me.
Not in the shower, but I do. I'm glad. I'm so thankful for technology. But like, I'll be at work or something and I'll have an idea, and I'm thankful. I just go to my my voice recorder on my phone and just say it in there. That way you don't forget. You get these ideas, these downloads, like you said.
Yeah.
And then you won't forget them. You can just say it. Hey, blah, blah, blah. Message to me. Hey, create this. I just thought of a good idea. Blah, blah, blah. I'm talking to myself, whatever. And then, but yeah.
Is that what you did, Nick, when you wrote the book? Is hey, blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Hey,
I'm talking to myself.
That is the recorder.
Yeah, there you go.
That I wrote the Giants and the Smalls on.
See?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, my version of getting into the creative mode is a little darker. I've created my best works from depression. And in my darkest moments,
awesome.
Yeah, it's been my way out. It's one of those things that when you get in that state where you're low and you pull back and your energy is drained and you lose that hope, right? Because I think hope comes from the delusion. Like we get into this delusional state almost of everything's going to turn out fine. And you almost, in depression, you lose that. And you're looking at reality as it is, and you're reflecting on everything, and you don't know the way out. And often when I'm in that space and I'm just feeling at my lowest of lows, I start to have an inspiration or a thought, and then that thought carries me out, and it becomes a book, and it becomes a poem, and it carries me out of depression. And so by the time I'm done writing that thing, I'm so inspired and on fire that I can't remember being depressed. And the Giants and the Smalls came on a recorder when I was driving to work, feeling sorry for myself, hours on end, driving and looking at these houses on the hill and people living these lives. And I'm like, why do I feel like my life is so small? And that became the seed for everything else that followed. I followed that download started to come from depression. But it took me kind of shutting off your mind. Sometimes that's what depression is designed to do, is to get us to pull back energy from things that aren't working. And I don't think people realize that. It's such a beneficial tool if we'll allow it to do its work,
Mm-hmm.
You just reminded me of something too, man. You just are inspiring so many thoughts within myself. But one of the things that I say to myself all the time, and I put out there even on social media, is that everything happens for my highest good. So what I'm saying, and then some people will say, oh, so even if you get sick or whatever, yeah, everything. So I look at everything. So just like what you just said, when I'm going through hard times or whatever, or depression or whatever, I have a mindset that I'm looking what something great is going to come out of this. What can I learn from this adversity that I'm going through? And you're right, because a lot of the greatest songs ever written have come from someone experiencing heartbreak or loss or depression, and that's how they use that energy as fuel to propel them to greater heights. They don't just, a lot of the people don't start up here. They get it from down here, and it propels them from that deep dark.
And it's amazing. You listen to their music or you read their words, and those same words that they wrote at their lows of lows bring you out of depression. Like I've read research studies on music that people that will listen to sad music when they're depressed will actually feel happier after the song. And so, but I can see it because the creation came from that low of lows. It's like that was the space that they needed to create that. And then anybody that follows that experiences that goes through that same process. They're just not the creator. They're the receiver of it. It's beautiful.
That's happened to us multiple occasions too, Nick, is when we're in a low or a stuck point. I mean, I can remember 3 or 4 quickly where we're just like, what do we do? Like, what are we doing? And just like sad, alone, fearful of what's going to happen. And just like, okay, well, what are we going to do? And then we listen to, just keep stepping, or something comes in and magic happens. Like that's when the magic happens. And it was some of our darkest moments. Some of your darkest moments. That book, this one right here, The Giants and the Smalls, that one, it's kind of see-through because of my screen. That came from one of your darkest moments of feeling so small, and wondering how's everyone else living these giant lives, and I'm feeling absolutely
I was
the smallest.
One of the seeds of that is at a food bank, right, to get food, because I didn't have the money to get food, and brings up the emotions right now. It's like somebody had a conversation with. This is what I love, is that another human being called me and had a conversation with me, held space for me, and that shifted my thoughts. That conversation shifted my thoughts, opened me up to be ready to learn. Even in the depression, I was still in the depression after that conversation, but it planted the seed for me to listen to Who Moved My Cheese, and be inspired by that to write The Giants and the Smalls, right? And it's like we have an influence over people. Like I can have a say, not that I have a say in somebody's life, but I can have a conversation with Melissa, and that conversation will carry her, and that becomes foundational for some creation, some thought, some download that Melissa's now open to receiving, and I don't know, Lou, have you had experiences like that where people have talked with you and that opened up the download?
Yes, just other people's experiences. Yeah. And just talking to people, it just, just listening to different perspectives, just like right here on the show, how you're inspiring things just from listening to you, because your exact thoughts, the way you're orchestrating words are different than the way I would do it. So yeah, you're inspiring. And another thing that you reminded me to say is I didn't used to understand this. I mean, it was confusing to me at first, but now I understand it better. When I would hear people tell me, don't regret anything that has happened with you, because all that was responsible for who you are now.
Yeah, wow.
And if you wouldn't have went through all that, as bad as it was,
yeah,
you wouldn't be who you are today.
We wouldn't be having this call right now.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll admit that a lot of my creativity, when it's me actually wanting to create, like when I'm creating in the shower and when I'm coming up with things in the shower, or when I'm coming up with things in meditation, it's just spontaneous happening, right? I just happen to be thinking about things and all of a sudden the answer comes to me in meditation or in the shower. I'm not specifically trying to create in those places, but I'll admit when I'm actually specifically trying to create, it comes out of procrastination for me. My kids won't be here and I will spend the whole day walking around procrastinating, doing everything but, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, okay, I'm ready to sit down and my mind is clear. I'm ready to sit down and create this. And I'll, from a clear space, I'll be able to sit down and create that. But if somebody actually interrupted the procrastination, it's almost like I start that cycle all over again.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. Yeah.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, I sent this show invite out about an hour before the show. Like, that's my procrastination. That's what I do. But I get things done. But some of my best writings when I was going to college came from that. Like, my energy wasn't ready to get focused. But when I got focused, I did. I had teachers ask if they could use my papers.
Yeah.
But that's procrastinating. So it's not, I don't think it's always a negative. It's just a way of creation. It's a way of making sure you're ready to be in that space. Like your mind is not going to be clouded by thinking about other things that need to get done or that are happening. You're just, you can fully be in that space. And honestly, if a phone call were to come through or something like that in the middle of that procrastination, I would start that whole cycle all over again to find myself in that space.
Wow.
That's interesting. I thought you were going to say, you're using words and you're not using them the way I would. I can't understand a thing you're saying, Nick. Like,
no. What I'm saying is you're jogging. What I was saying is you're jogging stimulating certain thoughts that I wouldn't have stimulated myself by just listening. That's why
it's okay, Luke. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know.
An observer. I'm an observer.
It's usually when it's science stuff. I
never know where I'm going to get my inspiration from. So that's why I listen.
I want to hit on that. You never know where you're going to get the inspiration from. Like the inspiration, right? I've had conversations with people that unexpectedly just blew my mind. Like I was at work and there was this guy sitting across from me. He's a prison guard, and he started telling me about being a prison guard and what it was like. And I was thinking, well, that must be really hard from my world. And he talked about the love of it. Like it was the best thing in the world for him. He was living his dream. And it was like, I'm inspired because it's one of those things that you can create anything. Like you say, we're all creators. And so he can create it however he wants. If he wants to create it, that this is the best job I've ever been in, he's going to be the happiest man on earth. If he wants to create that same job as the worst job, right? That's what's going to show up.
That's what's going to show up. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I like the way you put that because that is true. However you look at it, that's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's true. Like we could have, Steve Hardison always shares this with me. You could have 2 truths, 4 truths, 6 truths in the same room. All 4 of us could have different truths. They're all truths. but they're truths to us, and that becomes our reality because that's what we operate from.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that, because I always say that when people comment in certain ways that I may not agree with necessarily or may not resonate with, I always still say, thank you for sharing your truth.
Yeah.
You know, because that way I'm showing a gratitude and I'm not diminishing because they're adamant about what they said.
Right.
Mhm.
It's true to them. So who am I to say that's not true?
You don't take a baseball bat to their china cabinet, right?
Right.
Like that's the truth. Yeah.
Nick, you talk like you've done that before. It's
Well,
like,
no, I mean that's emotionally.
Yeah,
what
I don't
we're
have any
doing
china
is-
left.
Whose China cabinet did you destroy, man?
yes.
Well, back in 5th grade,
You still
tell
way
you
back to the
everything.
beginning. Tell you everything.
Goonies style honesty, man. Well, in 4th grade, I stole a candy bar. Yeah.
I'm
No,
going to
it's
show you
just
my
that's-
China cabinet too. Now I'm not going to show it to you.
I
I
like
might
china
take a
cabinets.
baseball bat to it.
Yeah. But I think when it comes to our truths and our owning of our truths, people will share their truths and they'll be different from ours. And we take a baseball bat to their truths. And it's like, no, that's, there's a way to have space to understand and disagree. You can have different views, but to have an understanding and a respect for other people where they're at and relating, right, to where they're at. And that opens up creativity too, because you might hear something in that conversation just because you took time to hear it a little differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, you might have the courage to change your point of view.
Yeah.
Even by listening to that, right? You might not, but you might have the courage to listen and change your point of view and say,
Dalai
hey, you know what?
Lama.
I never thought of it that way. Yeah.
Which
I
also
just want
brings
to
me
talk over you.
to what I like to say too is never underestimate the power of planting seeds. Like certain seeds you plant in your head. You may not get it or you may not agree with it at that time, but it's in there now and it might show up different. They might show up later. You might say, you know what, the thing that guy told me 2 years ago, I get it now.
Right.
There's something else that connects with it. You might go through, and say, you know what, I remember what this reminds me of what that guy said. I see it now.
Huh. Yeah. I was gonna share. I'll share the Dalai Lama has said that somebody asked me. They said if somebody came along with a scientist and showed you that your beliefs were false, like they weren't true anymore, and they had evidence for it, and what would you do? Would you change your beliefs? And the Dalai Lama said, I would consider the evidence. I would look at the evidence, and if their evidence really supported that my beliefs were wrong, I would change my beliefs. Right? He would open up to a new way of seeing things, and it's not necessarily like what you say, Melissa. It's like you might open up to seeing it and changing and shifting in your world in a way that you couldn't have anticipated or expected, just because you're willing to
cut out.
Yeah. Oh, shoot.
Okay.
We'll send you back to the recording on that one. But yeah, it was the best part of the show. I can't believe that even came up. I'm sorry you missed it. Yeah.
It was about breaking more China.
Yeah. On the China cabinet thing.
Right. No, it's just, it's beautiful that if we'll stop and listen and relate to people where they're at, that it really does open up for creativity too,
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think that's exactly what it takes. That's exactly what it takes is stopping and listening, right?
Yeah.
Stop talking and listen.
Yeah. Instead of cutting it off just because you feel that maybe you don't think the same. It's like, wait a minute, you might learn something. Just go ahead and hear it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Let it play out.
Let it play out. And then you can make your own decisions after, but let it play out.
Man. Okay. So this brought up something that right there, right? Let it play out. Luke, how many times have you thought you created something and maybe you've done this, maybe you haven't, but I know there are people who have, and you create something and then you go to put it out there to share with somebody else. And you're like, this is a terrible idea. And you shut it down and it never plays out. Right.
I've done that.
So yeah, you have this creation and when you're creating, you're like, this is amazing, beautiful. But then the moment you go to share it, it's like, I'm not good enough. This is nothing. This is stupid.
We're guessing. Yep.
Yeah.
Judgment.
What would you share around that for somebody that might be listening?
What I've learned is if whatever you've created, if you're passionate about it, don't judge it. Just let it, like you said, let it play out. And and there's no such thing as it's not good enough. It came from your creativity. Is do it, and it might not be. I mean, but we have this mindset that we want to compare. Like, okay, I came up with this creation, and this what I just came up with is not as good as that. Well, you don't know who this might impact. This might be the one that ends up more powerful than the one that you know. It doesn't matter. Just
You
like you
interesting
said, let
about
it play
that, Luke.
out.
That sometimes you don't feel like what you're doing has an impact on
Right.
anyone else. We talked to somebody yesterday, and this person didn't feel like that they were making an impact. Yet the impact that this person had on my life was substantial, and this person just didn't know exactly what type of an influence they had, and how much it changed me as a person, as at a time when I was needing some reassurance, a little bit of guidance, a little bit of direction, some understanding, and ran across some of this person's videos, and it changed everything for me. And
Man.
I maybe I did a bad job at the time of telling this person, wow, like this is what you did for me. But I had the opportunity to do that yesterday. Yesterday?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah, yesterday.
Yeah.
That seems like forever ago
Yesterday was
because
a
it was a
long
long
year.
day.
Yeah.
But it was an opportunity where somebody else had that type of an impact on me. So anyway,
And that reminds me of what you just said. When you're doing something, following your purpose, your passion, or doing something that's with the intentions of uplifting people and impacting them. Not everybody's going to come to the forefront and tell you. There's somebody that's back in the shadows, that's being encouraged by you, and they're never say anything to you, and you don't know it. And then maybe one day you might run across them and they'll tell you, you know what? I've been following you for 20 years. And you'd be like, what? And you're the reason why I'm still alive, or something like that. Then
Wow, yeah.
you don't even know.
we've had some of those experiences inside of the
Yeah,
tribe
I have
where
too.
Yeah, see?
they
I
shoot you a
know.
message and you're like, what? Or you run into them in real life, and then they're like, oh my gosh, and they tell you about what you did and what you said, and
Right. And you just
you
didn't
have
know it.
no
That's why
idea that you did that.
yeah. That's why I just keep pushing along. Just
Yeah,
keep pushing
yeah.
along. When you
Every
know
step
your
of the way.
intentions are, what they are, don't always look for things to assure or affirm that you're doing the right thing. Just you already know it. You don't always have. We always want to look at the numbers or this and that. No, you're following your purpose, your passion. Keep doing it. That's
Oh,
what makes you a complete happy person, and you can't substitute that for any amount of money or anything. Yes, we want to be compensated for things, of course we do, but at the same time, you wouldn't be who you are if you weren't doing what you were doing.
I want to spin some words. I want to spin two words that you're using: purpose and passion.
I'll give you 2 minutes.
I got 2 minutes.
Two words for 2 minutes.
Purpose, from the man's search for meaning, right? Purpose is a place to pause. It can be anything. It's made up. Purpose is made up. You're going to have thousands of them in your life. Right? Passion is willingness to suffer for that purpose. Right. Passion is simply that. And so when you create your purpose, whatever it is, make it up. You're making it up anyway. Create a purpose. When you fulfill that one, create another purpose and have passion around it. Be willing to suffer for that purpose, right? Like joyfully suffer. And it's not even suffering at that point. It becomes what we call passion, right?
Yeah.
It's a willingness to stick through it. How did I do, Melissa?
Oh, that was excellent. And
that was
I
less than a minute, I think.
That was less than a minute. That was probably a record for Nick Smith.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, we are going to wrap up here. Does anybody have any quick final thoughts for our listeners?
I want to hear from Lute.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just man, I just want to just elaborate on what Nick said. Just keep pushing along and make up your I like that. Make up your passions. Just find a purpose. Make up a purpose and just dive fully into it.
Yeah.
Find another one. If that doesn't make you feel the way you want to feel, go find another one. Nothing's stuck. Nothing's set in stone. Just keep on. Be you. Create.
Awesome.
Go be you.
Go
Yeah.
be you. I love it.
Go be
Thank
you.
you so much for being here with us today, Lute. We
Yes,
appreciate
thank you.
you. And of course, always thank you for being in the room, Ryan and Nick, the Gentle Giant. I invite you all to join us next week when our special guest co-host is Holly Vance, and we'll be talking about how the vagus nerve regulates the body. We're doing a big shift over to regulating our body next week. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.
Love you too.
Goodbye.
Awesome. You guys are welcome to hang on for the after show.
You have a couple more minutes,
Okay.
Luke.
If you need to go, you can
I
go.
better get off
And-
here. I got my wife peeking through the door looking at
Yeah.
She's
me.
like, come on, let's do this. Let's get out of here. Let's go.
Yeah, I think she wants to go look at some Christmas lights or something.
Awesome. Well, let's make it a short after show then.
Okay.
Guys, I love Luke, thank you, man. I love you, dude.
Well, we just
Yeah,
have to have
thanks.
an after show for Steve Hardison, who comes in at the last 5 minutes, mister.
Alex is like, I'm not leaving. Alex is going to stick around all night.
Yeah. Luke, if you need to go, we appreciate you, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Honor your family. And yeah, we'll see you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, we'll talk soon. Thank you very
All right.
much. I appreciate all of you. Thank you very much.
You too. Have
Thank
fun.
you.
We'll
Have
see
an
you.
amazing evening. All right. Bye.
The triple Fs, huh? You three. I don't know which. I'm probably the F, right? Like
I don't
in
know.
the
Yeah,
Fs. Yeah.
that doesn't leave much. Melissa, what do you want to be in the triple F?
I'm just gonna pretend that I don't know what those F's
That's
mean.
probably a good idea. We love you too, Steve.
We love you
We
too.
love
We love
all
you
of
too,
you.
Steve.
The you know what I loved about this whole show is that we get to see different giants being giants in their way, and Loot has a very unique way of being a giant and doing it in a very big way. It's pretty awesome, but it's funny because a lot of the principles in the way of being are very similar. They
Mhm.
just add themselves to that equation, and yeah, it's interesting.
The beauty that I see in it too is like it's becoming this thing where Lou is inspiring, right? He's inspiring, and then that inspires somebody else to do their thing. But he's not yanking people out of their experience, right? It's not a rescue. It's like, I'm going to inspire. We're going to walk side by side in this. So I think that's pretty cool.
My favorite part is how Steve Hardison puts in things like it's a teleprompter. I have to read every sentence, basically. Some of them I don't catch, but basically, and I try to keep up
every
as
word
much as
of
possible, but yeah, every
I
single
kept
word.
trying to show this for Hugh, man. I still have, and Ryan, I
Hugh.
still have your can of pea soup in my truck.
I can't wait. We should have like the next cigar night when we meet together. We should eat pea soup and crackers and record it.
Well, now you're just all rubbing it in with your cigar nights.
Yeah,
Melissa,
you just you're welcome every time.
Out.
It's an open invitation. It's just not an open border.
Yeah, it's just not an open border, so the Canadian can't make it, right?
We didn't choose where you live.
I love it.
Yeah. We still love you. Like, just kidding. Come down.
I might
just kidding about the I love you. We still love you.
I think I might have to move to Utah soon and get the heck out of Canada.
Heck yeah, dude, do it.
It's snowy though. I'm kind of jealous. Steve Hardison picked the right place to be. At least right now.
Well, I'll visit Arizona in January and I'll figure it out. I'm supposed to be in Arizona again in April. So I'll do the back-to-back. I'll do Arizona to Utah and I'll check them both out.
There's nothing that says you have to go back to Canada. I mean,
well, there might be.
Immigration.
Immigration.
Immigration. That's no big deal.
You know what's awesome though is in January there is that event. It's the ultimate experience, and Alex is part of that. Thanks to Alex, we caught onto that pretty quick, and we got our tickets. We got some VIP tickets, so I'm looking for some amazingness, Alex. Something crazy awesome. I'm gonna make it in our experience.
You know what? Yeah. I didn't get a VIP ticket. I got a regular ticket, and I'm waiting for Alex to upgrade the introvert to a VIP ticket. Alex, are you out there?
It might be a miracle. Who knows?
I'm putting it out there that I'm going to get upgraded to a VIP ticket because when I went to buy them, they were
Canadian
sold out.
VIPs.
Yeah, and all-inclusive flights and everything.
Well, I'm just
stop at VIP. Like,
what are we doing?
I think we should make up that section.
I know,
Canadian
Gary.
VIPs.
Do you know Gary Mailer?
Gary Mahler from you know what? I know Gary Mahler on Facebook, but I don't personally know him. And I love how people say, "Do you know so and so from Canada?" Do you know how big Canada is?
Should be a show, just where we ramble about whatever the people put on the screen. You know.
Yeah. do not. Gosh dang it! I did it again.
Oh, the ultimate experience.
What?
You wanted me to say that again, huh? Just type out whatever you want me to say, Alex. I'll say it. I do read everything, especially
Gary Mahler is there today. There we go.
So Alex can make sure that my soulmate is in the event in January, and then I can marry into the United States, right?
It's the Steve Hardison ultimate experience, the ultimate coach.
It's
our ultimate experience. It's my ultimate experience.
It's going to be all of our ultimate experiences.
And this is false.
Oh, you guys are funny. I am going to go smoke a cigar now. So,
yeah.
But Melissa, you're welcome anytime. I've got one for you. So,
it's got your name on it.
Well,
go be giant, everyone. We love you.
Save it for January.
Yeah,
good night,
January.
Good night. Thank you, guys. We'll see you.
Bye.